I just wrapped up my second trimester as a pregnant entrepreneur, and I learned a lot. I thought that second trimester was going to be about having the most energy, doing the most, and I found that it was not that simple. So today's episode is really about recalibration. How do we start to let go of the things that are actually holding us back, even though we think they're the things that work? And how do we shift and orient to a more truer and aligned way of building and growing a business, whether you're pregnant or not? Now, I'm also going to share some hot tips if you are pregnant for a second trimester, because this was such a different chapter for me than the first. And there are so many learnings packed into this one. So with that, let's get into it. Welcome to Confessions of a Spiritual Entrepreneur. I am your host, Samantha Fackler, business mentor and brand strategist. This show is about what it takes to build something in public. A business, a body of work, a brand, or a creative project so that you reach the right people. After 14 years in brand and marketing, I've seen so much confusing advice out there that tells you either need systems and rigid frameworks or intuition and manifestation vibes. And from my experience working with over 100 companies and even more clients, I find that growth is somewhere in the middle. So here we talk about the real choices of creating, showing up, and attracting the people that your work is meant for. Right now, I am very pregnant while running my company, so that journey will probably make its way into the show too. I'm glad you're here. Let's get into it. If you enjoy this podcast, you will probably enjoy my newsletter even more. Once a week, I send a letter straight from my desk to yours, and it's very behind the scenes. It's less polished, and it's really sharing, what I'm going through mentally, emotionally, and spiritually as an entrepreneur, as someone who's intuitive and is following things like astrology and human design as I navigate my path forward, as well as someone who is welcoming their first child into the world and moving through that identity shift. So I really break it all down. I also share tips on what is working and what is not working. So if you want to join that, you can subscribe in the link in the show notes. All right. So first trimester for me was very inward. It was very soft. It was like the caterpillar moving its way into its cocoon. And with that, I shared a whole episode on this, so I'm not going to go into it, but I just want to recap that it was a very inward journey. I realized that my entire operating system as a woman was starting to shift to more intuition, where my body was telling me what to do. And what I mean by that is that, let's say I had a decision on my mind, which I'm going to go through a few decisions that I made, and I couldn't think it through. I couldn't put together a strategy or go about it in an analytical way, which is typically what I would do. I mean, that's what I did for 14 years in brand and marketing. I was looking at what works and what doesn't and putting together plans. Suddenly, the moment I got pregnant, that wasn't the case. So I learned a lot and started to change in first trimester. Second trimester, everyone talks about how you have more energy. It comes back because you have grown the placenta. A lot of your body energy goes to that. And that's typically when the fatigue rolls off and you can do more things. Now, I know every single pregnancy is different, but for me, I was expecting more energy. So I was like, okay, it's go time. I had a live launch planned for the brand edit. I knew I had to make some big decisions. And what I found was there was so much more packed into this. It was not that simple. One of my first decisions was what to do with my free community. It was a space that I opened last summer and a way to connect with podcast listeners, as well as just have people in the community connect to each other, meaning clients, past clients, people who have gone through my programs, because I have met so many incredible women through my work. Now, what I found is that I'm a business owner. I have a lot of things going on. I have clients to serve. I have my own business to grow, to market. I have a podcast. And the community just wasn't something that I could pour myself fully into. So it never really got to the full vision that I imagined, even though there were some amazing moments in it. And we had really good programming happening every month in that space. So at the end of December, I was like, do I double down and hire someone to help run this community because I don't have the bandwidth to do it? Or do I cut it? And I remember the moment that I thought, what if I cut this? My whole body felt lighter. And that's when I knew I have to let go of my free community. And as much as I love providing resources, I looked at my overall business and I was like, I have a podcast that goes out with a ton of free content. I have free resources on my website that people can find. You go to the footer resources and there's free trainings and guides and all sorts of things. I don't need to pressure myself to hold up this free community and try and grow something if it's just not working. And the more people I talk to who also have communities, we're also seeing a decline in engagement, and people were just feeling fatigued over communities in general. So I knew, okay, this has got to go. Second, I knew that I wanted to close my paid community too. And this was a much smaller group of women that came in for group coaching office hours. And it was a more flexible and affordable way to get coaching with me without doing private mentorship. But something about it wasn't feeling right. I loved showing up for those calls. I loved when people showed up for those calls and we were able to do group hot seat coaching. But I just knew in my system, this is not going to move forward with me right now. And so I decided to close it. And again, my whole body felt so much lighter. Now, was part of me bummed that these things that I had big visions for didn't pan out? Yes. And that was so unexpected. I had actually some major grief over closing my free community because there have been so many incredible connections and conversations and trainings in that space. I've actually had clients who found me through the podcast and then joined my free community, went to trainings, loved the content, and then started to work with me because that trust had been built throughout that process. And so part of me was letting go of that too. That's not the only way clients find me, but it was a bummer to let go of, basically. And I had a couple days where I was really down after it, even though I knew this was the right decision. So another big thing I learned was that even when you're amped up and so excited to do so many things, sometimes your body has other ideas. And I got sick in February. Of course, right when my live program was in swing, we had just wrapped up the launch. I had decided to turn that live program into an on-demand offer because I realized, why am I teaching the same workshops over and over? All of these can be recorded. People can watch them on their own time, and they can actually move through the brand edit at their own pace. They don't have to be on a schedule. And they can reach out to me if they want that one-on-one feedback and support. And so I was running this live program, simultaneously making sure that I was recording all the material. It was super high quality, turning it into an on-demand offer that, yes, is available on my website for you. But I also got sick. And this was such a buzzkill because I didn't know this before. But if you're pregnant and you get sick, you can't take a lot of cold meds unless your doctor clears certain things. And so you just kind of have to grit through it. And your immune system is already lowered. So you're not going to fight it off as strong or as fast as you normally would. And at least that was the case for me. So this was extra frustrating because I was in this season that was demanding a lot from me. And I felt this ticking clock of like, okay, you have second trimester to make all this stuff happen. And now you're sick and you can't operate on all cylinders. And that hit me emotionally. At this time, also, I was putting decisions into action, meaning that I had made decisions at the end of my first trimester, beginning of second trimester, based on my intuition, based on what felt really good. I knew those decisions were right, and yet actually acting on them was hard. It was hard to tell one of my core marketing assistants, we're not going to work together anymore. And yet it was the right decision. It was tough to say, hey, everyone, I'm closing my free community, even though it was the right thing. It was tough to look at my live launch and see that, the metrics were good, but they weren't as great as past launches of the brand edit, and know fundamentally that I don't have the physical energy now, nor in the future, to do another big live launch. So it's time to change this live program of mine into an on-demand one. And so there's all this movement happening. And yet I still had to honor, how much capacity do I have to take the action needed across all of these things? So every single day I had to ask myself a few key questions. One was, okay, am I pushing forward? And am I pushing forward in an aligned way? Or does it feel like a forced way? Because if it's forced, I got to pull back. But if it's aligned, if it's right, it's going to feel more fluid It's going to feel more easy, and it's actually going to give me more space and energy. So there's a huge difference between those two. The second one was, when does rest feel necessary versus avoidant? Because there were some days, I'm not going to lie, I felt so overwhelmed. I had this analysis paralysis, but I was trying to figure out, am I resting because I'm avoiding some of this stuff? Like I'm avoiding this conversation with my marketing assistant? Or am I resting because I really need it? My body needs it. And it was more often the latter, but checking in with myself on it allowed me to see, hey, where are some of my patterns getting in the way? And actually delaying stuff when I really do need to take action and take this time seriously. And then the third, which is something that has actually continued to ramp up over time that I'll dig into a little bit more, is, when does your nervous system need control versus to relax? As you can imagine, with so many different things going on and action being taken, that can trigger us sometimes, or that can stimulate our nervous system. And it's not necessarily in a bad way, right? It's like you go to a networking event or you speak on a stage, your nervous system is activated. You're in the sympathetic. When you're in this action mode and doing so much and making decisions and having tough conversations, even if everything's aligned, your nervous system still is turned on. And so I constantly needed to check in with myself and see, okay, am I just stimulated right now and in this control mode? Or do I need to relax my nervous system and still proceed? Because you can do both, right? It's like when someone takes deep breaths before getting on the stage, you're trying to actively move yourself from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic. Or before you enter a room that you're nervous about entering, calming the nervous system, feeling your body, feeling your feet on the ground, right? That's how we shift our state so that we can still act and do the things that we need to, but we're doing so from a clear space. And that was really important to me. So many things, right? And there were more unexpected things. Not just getting sick, but also the grief piece that was very unexpected. I am someone who, when I make a decision and I go forth with it, I'm very confident in that. So I did not expect the sadness that creeped in over, oh man, this could have been so cool. And maybe in another world on a different timeline, this could have blossomed into what I always imagined, but I need to let it go. And then another kind of unexpected thing that was more physical with my pregnancy is that I'm a tall girl. I'm like 5'8". I have a long torso. And I know many other pregnant people who are around the same stage as me. But I just didn't pop as much as they have. Like, even when I was 24 weeks, 26 weeks, I still looked a bit smaller compared to people who are around that same stage. Now, of course, any OB will tell you it doesn't matter. They're going to measure you and you're probably going to be within range. But just depending on your body shape and type, some people might look a lot larger earlier or later than others. And I actually had a little bit of insecurity about looking not as big as some other people. And I had people telling me left and right, oh my God, you're 5 months pregnant. I could barely tell. Or, oh my gosh, you look really small for how pregnant you are. And I didn't like hearing that. I don't think people should comment on other people's physical size at all. But hearing that, it made me think, well, is something wrong with me? Is my baby not growing as fast as she should? And au contraire, joke's on all of you, our baby's like 90th percentile. So even though throughout my second trimester, I tended to look smaller, our baby is actually on the larger side of things. So that insecurity was very surprising, but it taught me I need to let go of people's opinions. I can't really care at the end of the day what people think, whether it's about my body or my business or my decisions. And it was such a powerful moment to be like, yeah, it doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm healthy, my baby's healthy, and I'm doing what I need to do as a business owner, an entrepreneur, as someone who shows up publicly on a podcast, on social media, all the things. So lots of unexpected things, but of course, underneath all of those are such powerful lessons. And moving forward, I made some decisions too, at least at this time. I know that as I become a mother and have my business, I'm not going to do any more big live launches. They're exhausting. They take a ton of work, a ton of effort, and they do take team members to help you because I don't think anyone can do a proper live huge launch alone. And two, looking at how can I offer things that feel really aligned in the moment, not trying to force it, not trying to force something, but really see what wants to come through me for maybe a group offering, whether it's a one-time workshop or maybe it is some type of program. But how do I structure that with ease instead of using other structures that I've seen out there? And so that's something too I've been working with a lot of clients on too, is how do we do something net new, right? How do we do something that fits you and your business and not just what's expected? I'm definitely out of the phase of like forcing a strategy or a plan. As I shared in my first trimester reflections episode, I am like moving and grooving intuitively, even if that means showing up on social media a little less or doing different things in my podcast. Like I've definitely had some episodes on about animal psychics and mediums and all sorts of things that I just feel called to. And guess what? Those have been some of the best performing. So it's like when I threw out the rule book for my podcast and for my social media, and even when I cut my marketing assistant, actually everything started to work better. And so sometimes you just need to follow your gut and follow your intuition and understand what it's telling you. Oh gosh, this is a big one. No rigid routines. I stopped taking calls before 10 a.m. because pregnancy insomnia has popped up here and there. And so there are certain mornings where I just know I'm not going to be super sharp before 10 a.m. I might need to take some time to wake up if I had a night where I just did not sleep that well. And so I told my admin assistant, hey, no calls before 10. And that's been one of the most amazing things. So I've given myself the luxury of having slow mornings, no rigid routine, and that's been awesome. Just straight up. So sometimes you just need to like relax the routines, the plans, all of it, and see, okay, how do I want to move a little differently? And lastly, this is one that I recently stumbled upon, was I found myself procrastinating, specifically with sharing some of the writing that I've been doing. I have been writing a lot in my pregnancy. I've just felt like I've become this creative channel. And yet I've been in this push and pull of, okay, I want to publish this writing, but I've dragged my feet on it. And I was getting down on myself for procrastinating when I realized just last week, maybe this isn't for me to share right now. Maybe this is just for me to keep it close to my heart. And maybe there's a later time where I edit it and release it. Or maybe I never do. Maybe it's just for me. And that's okay too. Okay, now lastly, if you're listening to this and you're pregnant or you know someone who's pregnant, I'm about to rattle off rapid fire a few tips because also I know I'm going to probably listen to this if/when I ever get pregnant again and I want to remember these things because these are really important and I'm so happy I did them in my second trimester. First off, I had my baby shower late second trimester, and that was one of the best things because one, it was one of the best days of my entire life. It was so beautiful. I was blown away by the generosity and the support of everyone that came. And I'm so happy I did it then because I had the energy to be there and have these conversations and even spend time that week with different people that came into town. And it's funny because I saw my OB after that and I told her, yeah, we just had our baby shower. It was amazing. And she was like, oof, I'm so happy you did it end of your second trimester because I couldn't tell you how many women come in labor being so sad because they have to miss their baby shower because they are delivering earlier than the date. So that is definitely a hot tip, would highly recommend. Two, you're going through so many physical changes in your second trimester. Your body starts to expand. You start to not be able to wear your normal clothes. You might already enter this in your first trimester, but for me, it hit in the second one. And there were a couple of different items that I really loved, and I just want to share those because maternity clothes, in my opinion, suck. They're not that cute. We need a rehaul. We need a new brand that actually does maternity wear well. But I found a couple of key things, and none of these are ads, by the way. I just genuinely love these products. One, I have a pair of lounge pants from Talentless. 10 out of 10 recommend. I've had them for a couple years, but they have been able to strangely expand with my body and still look cute. It's like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, but like trimester traveling pants. I don't know. Two is Abercrombie and Fitch has these cropped tank tops that have a built-in bra. And I don't know about all of you. I'm typically a small breast girly, and my tits have completely exploded. And so, what I love about those tops is not only that you can just size up and they fit really well, but if your boobs are just expanding by the day, they actually like the way that they're shaped, they kind of flow with that. They give you that room, they can accommodate. Three, Quince, they have overalls. My sister actually got me a pair, and they're awesome because they expand, they're super, super comfortable, and they're cute. So you don't really look like trash sheep rolling around. They're like adorable. And then also get really good slippers because your feet actually start to hurt in second trimester because you're carrying more weight and your body actually might be walking a little differently because bones are literally shifting and you're changing shape as a human. Nesting. I have become a nest maxer. I don't know if that's the right word, but that's the word I'm using. And I have literally wanted to renovate so many things. And what I have found is that if you find that you are nest maxing and really wanting to make a ton of changes in your home, just make a list and go room by room. Don't try and tackle it all, or else your brain is going to literally spin with all the different things that you want to do. Now, of course, if you follow me on Instagram, you know that we are doing a bathroom renovation that is a major project. But on top of that, every single room I go into, I see little things that I'm like, I want to change that and I want to update that. And so having a list and tackling it room by room has been really helpful just for my brain. Finally, you will probably change the way that you work out as well as your skincare routine because your skin changes. So I've had to make some different changes in that department as well as my belly having a skincare routine. So now I have like oil and balms that I put on it. And I love it because every time I take care of my belly and my body, it just feels like this moment where I get to appreciate what it's doing, all of the changes. And honestly, I'm in awe of how it's changing. And I think it's so cool. Lastly, to wrap this up, the big themes for me reflecting on second trimester as a pregnant entrepreneur have really come down to trust. How do I trust myself? How do I listen to what feels right versus what other people think or what I quote should do? And how do I also sit with some uncertainty at times? And that's something that's coming up as I'm now in third trimester. So this will obviously be a later episode. I probably won't recap all of it until after birth. But what I'm already noticing pretty much the moment I hit third trimester was, oh, we're entering a different chapter now. My energy is starting to have a different pattern to it. I don't have as much. And yet I'm not fatigued. It just kind of has its ups and downs. There's more significant body changes. My belly is really getting big. I feel like a giant bowling ball, and I kind of love it. But there's also this uncertainty of like, oh, wow, okay, now labor's approaching. And so I'm kind of training my body and my breath and my mind for that. But there's also this period after. I'm also starting to prep for postpartum. What does that period look like? How do I maintain these strong boundaries that I've talked about in past episodes? Protecting my space, my energy as I recover, and we get to know our little one and take care of her. And the uncertainty piece with business is a huge one. I don't know exactly how my business is going to function or what offers I'll be able to put out there when I get back because I just don't know. And I have to be okay with that right now. I have to trust myself. So that's kind of the overall recap of second trimester. I hope you found something valuable in this. If you know someone who owns a business and is pregnant, please share this with them and hopefully they get something out of it too. If you're new here, be sure to follow this show so that you do not miss future conversations like this. And with that, you can always find out a little bit more by subscribing to my newsletter. It's in the show notes. I just add a little bit more context, share even more of the nitty gritty and some of the raw stuff that's happening. And I will definitely be sharing more there as I move through third trimester and birth, pregnancy, the whole thing. Thank you for being here, and I'll catch you next time.